We are now. Red is on.
Okay, good evening. Welcome to Thursday, May 2nd, 2019 Selectmen's Meeting. Let's stand and say pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So everybody's here. Jeannie will be arriving around 6. She's at another event. So, first thing was the meeting minutes of 4/11 and 4/18. So I guess we'll start with 4/11.
On the page 2, the very first sentence, Selectman Jessamine thanked Dari for all he has done. It should be done. It's not.
Thank you. Good catch.
On page 2, 2 paragraphs up from Main Street Committee update. Selectman Dawson announced the park commissioners awarded. We didn't award, we, for lack of a better word, I just put asked. Turned it over to on the 3rd page under Selectmen's reports, the second one down, Catherine asked about the agreement between John Bernard and the process of altering the road. So I didn't ask about the process of altering the road, I knew that. I have Catherine asked about the agreement with John Bernard for Pest House Road, just to make it simpler. Don't need to put the rest in, I don't think.
On page 2, I'm not understanding under Main Street Committee update. About halfway down when she said, Juliet mentioned she may be implementing an informal newsletter to better communicate with the downtown business. She asked if the business owners could not park in front of their stores.
They don't. They usually park in front of the other stores.
So, in other
There you
words, she's putting the newsletter out not for the business owners to park in front of their stores.
No, I think it's two separate.
Two different thoughts. It needs a comma or an and.
Well, it's 2 separate sentences. But
Well,
I think
two separate
it was 2 separate discussions. Because I think we got into, they're supposed to park out in the parking lot, out of the parking agreement.
Right,
I think we
right,
discussed
right.
Parking
that with her.
enforcement, I thought, was brought up.
Yeah, I think that was too.
It's just, that'd be probably.
I could say she also asked.
She also asked.
There you go.
Also mentioned.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's good.
That's good.
That makes a little more sense.
Yeah, I had to read that a couple of times myself.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of Thursday, April 11th, 2019 as corrected.
Second.
Any discussion? Everybody still looking?
Did Catherine actually vote no on this non-public?
Which one?
On a roll call vote.
I believe.
Just left her name off.
No, I think she said no. on one of them recently. I don't remember which one.
Not the one we met only to go into non-public.
This wasn't-
I don't remember, it's too long ago, but I voted no a couple of times
Yeah.
not to go
I've
in.
just been cutting and pasting, so it's possible that.
Yeah.
I
Double
voted no
check,
on a
but I know
couple.
there was a couple.
This was, I know this was personnel, and it just seemed like that it would be odd that you would vote no on that.
It would be.
I'll check.
Something more iffy, you would tend to vote no, but not that.
Like I said, I go into a past minute,
Yep, okay,
and then I cut and paste, so.
just caught my eye.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so all those in favor to accept the minutes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
I do have there was another issue that was brought up. It was the banner on the rail in front of the park.
That was last week.
That was
That
different.
was the same time,
No,
because
different.
Peter started it out.
Oh, it's on the
It's
18th.
on the 18th, and then it went to the 25th.
Yeah.
Yep. This is the main.
Oh, it's actually up at the top. Never mind, I'm looking for it at the bottom.
Oh,
Okay. So, all those in favor again, say aye.
Hi,
Opposed? So moved.
I'll be all right.
Real close.
Yeah.
Next one, Thursday, April 18th, 2019.
Okay, on this one, on the 18th, you don't have, on a roll call vote, you don't have Catherine's vote.
Oh, for God's sake.
Just being left out all over the place.
Seems so unlikely.
All right. See,
That's
I'm doing this on purpose
Yeah.
to make sure that we have plenty of time before 6 o'clock, and that we can just kind of draw things out
This is-
until then, and
This is a test to see if we're paying
see
attention.
if you're paying attention,
We are.
right?
Oh, spirited discussion, okay.
And I didn't do a roll call vote on the second half, so good one.
See this one.
Yes, and then there's nothing on the roll call vote,
One
yeah.
all the time, the 18th.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to accept the minutes as amended. Further discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
We'll just have the one.
So moved. Done.
Okay, next.
Next,
You're excused anyways, because we're going into non-public. Yeah.
Unless you
want
But we
to
could do them
say
first,
comments.
couldn't we?
But no, he's not here, he's not here till 6 with Jeannie.
okay.
Oh,
But what I was gonna say is if you want him to stay and put comments in for Jeannie to battle with.
Well,
go ahead.
Go take a nap. Thank you.
It's
Oh,
funny.
Kevin, can you shut the door and turn my sign, please? Thank you very much.
yeah, thanks, Kevin.
There was a day when there was a TV down there. That's when we used VHS tapes.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
None of the new cars have CD players in them?
Thank God.
Oh, stop.
That was
I'm
awful.
going to make a motion that we go into non-public as per RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him, unless the employee affected, 1, has the right to a meeting, and 2, requests that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted. Okay,
Second,
roll call vote.
Constantino, yes?
Dawson, yes?
Fog, yes.
Jessamine, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
We are red, red is on. At this time, I would like to make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session as they pertain to personnel issues permanently.
Second.
We have motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Next thing we have is selectmen's reports. Anybody want to start? Do you have anything, Peter?
Got a few things. First off, Tilton Northfield Rotary Club Annual Children's Fishing Derby is May 19th, 9 to noon. Registration starts at 8. It's at the Tilton School Pond, just up School Street on the left-hand side. Free to kids up to through age 15. Prizes are awarded. Item number 2. On Tuesday, May 21st at 6 p.m. in this room, the Tilton Sewer Commission will be holding a public hearing on the proposed West Main Street Sewer Extension Project. The project includes tying in the areas of Route 3 from about the high school to the Town Line Plaza with a possible alternate of 3/4 of a mile up Clark Road.
What date is that?
Tuesday, May 21st. And the hearing is at 6 p.m. here. And then last but not least, July and August. July 27th, August 3rd, 8:30 to noon is the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Days. If you Google Lakes Region Household Hazardous Waste, they do have a nice brochure. Maybe we can get a copy to put on the town website that lists all the materials that they will be taking. That's it.
She's here.
Joe, do you have anything?
I do not.
Well, from the middle out.
Pat?
I do not, but I wanted to hear more from Catherine about the recycling truck that she followed behind.
Well, I know, it was littering all the way down the road.
Well, when I read it, it said Casella. Was it a not or was it Casella?
Oh, so, no. It just happened to hesitate, noticed I didn't have a recycle bin out, and I pulled out behind it. As it picked up recycle bins down the road, and it was mostly from the bin. So they dumped the bin, and out comes one of the marketing bags, some papers. And as they went down between here and 140, that happened over and over again. And then it was also coming out of the top of the truck. I was on my way out of town, so when I called up Tony Belanger at Pinard and told him, I'm following this truck, it's blah, 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 where it is. And he said, well, let me get a hold of the driver and have him pull over. And I couldn't hear what he said he was going to have him do to the load. So while I'm still on the phone with him, he's radioed the driver. I could hear him telling him, pull over and do whatever he wanted to do. The driver continued down 140 and pulled into Casella's yard to dump. I can only imagine the driver said, well, I've only got a mile to go, so I'm going to keep going. But I did hear Tony tell him to pull over.
So the marketing bags, they're not recyclable.
Well, that's my point. So
They're blowing up.
I had a couple of complaints either last week or the week before about recycle bins downtown and trash bins that were not getting dumped, that they're full, they stink, they're blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the 3 locations, and sure enough, there's recycling bins full of garbage. The marketing bags full of garbage tied, some of them just loose. One of them had paper plates that had been used, and I'm pretty sure those aren't recyclable.
In the recycling bin, the green bin.
In the green bins, and it was full. And that was in 2 locations. In one of the locations, the garbage bin didn't have any bagged garbage. It was all loose, just like maybe I had a garbage can in the house, and then I went and just dumped it in the bin. I don't know. So I talked to Tony about that, and he said yes, they were going to have to go through and take the time to look in the bins and start stickering bins. And I thought, well, tenants come and go. how often are we notifying them, or, you know, we leave it to the landlords to let them know what is recyclable and what isn't? You know, when it's a case of Pinard, obviously those bins that they were picking up, they don't know what they can throw away and what they can't. Because marketing bags shouldn't be fluttering out of the bin.
No, but I can tell you on several occasions that my tenant has had stickers put on because there have been things on the top that have not been recycling, and they have left that bin. They've come knocking on my door and said, hey, they've left this bin, and I said, well, that's not recyclable, let me get you a list. So they've been very diligent, that, particularly in my neighborhood, about that. That's why I don't understand, why are they picking up bins that have that, especially if they're on the top, if they're blowing out on the top.
Well, I can only imagine Route 3 is not a place where you can really easily pull over with a truck like that and, you know, get out and check a bin. And
Okay.
so I imagine what he's going to have to do is put a second person on the truck. So the driver stays with the truck.
It's kind of, that's the good and the bad of
Yeah.
having the automated system. When you hand emptied it, they could see it. But
Yeah.
by,
So I mean,
Save
and I'm
some
guessing
money,
about
but
the
you might
second
have to-
person on the truck. But
I'm surprised they don't have like a camera and stuff.
That's
yeah,
good, but it'll be too late
Well,
because
that's
the
right.
cover won't be open yet.
You know,
The covers are basically closed usually.
Flash back.
you know, the other thing is that we need to relook at our recycling program. I mean, it's costing us more to recycle than to send it down to the incinerator.
Well, because we do have the extra pickup. They have to pay to get the extra pickup.
The stuff that is, you know, like metal and stuff, you can bring down to the town garage, and we actually do get money for that, so. China's not taking it anymore. The Asian countries have stopped taking it, so now,
They only take it if it's clean.
and it's never clean.
Well, not the stuff that we're dumping, that's for sure.
But anyway,
Information.
Something
is
to look
good.
into.
I feel quite comfortable that Pinard's going to take care of that.
Take care of it.
Tony said he would.
It might be a good thing, maybe, I don't know if we can put it into the paper, you know, or,
It's on the website. Originally,
you know, somehow
I
get
was
it out
gonna-
to the people.
I was going to ask if you, you know, it's not that much more of an expense, but when I'm noticing these landlords of their inspections, I could include a flyer in that.
that would be terrific.
I just thought of that when you said that.
Start getting the word out that way.
So I could do that.
It's on the town website. It's also on the Tilton Recycles Facebook page.
Yeah.
It's available from Pinard at their website. It's available. And I think that your handing out flyers when you go to these places is great.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Didn't occur to me until you said that, John. The other thing, what we're talking about trash is, I couldn't find anywhere on our website that, because I had a person call and ask that, and thank you, Kevin, for that response, I was able to pass it on. What does it cost to get rid of a refrigerator or a bed or whatnot?
Working on that, isn't it? Aren't you
I
working
thought
on
it had to be, I
that?
thought there was.
The sign is from around
It's not on the
2007
website, but I
or
believe there's a sign
2004.
at the town garage.
Yeah, from 2007.
Pardon?
It's like 2007. Want me to try to find it? Because I took a picture of it years ago.
I don't know, but I couldn't find it on the website.
I don't think it
See if
is,
we can-
Catherine, because we talked about it when
Okay.
Brock was here, the previous director.
Mhm.
Okay,
that we
because
were
I
gonna
couldn't,
update it, and
I
Kevin's
didn't,
working
you know,
on that.
and I didn't say good, so, yeah, thank you, Kevin, I was able to let them know. But
Okay.
we're still working on Pat, and I haven't done mine yet, but we can wait and do mine
Pat?
later.
You said you didn't have anything else?
that
Oh, that's all you had?
That's
Okay.
it.
When we can do mine afterwards if you want.
We do yours right now. We have
Whatever you
till
want.
6. You have
Okay.
3-4 minutes?
Oh, the chief's not here.
No, he's on his way.
Stop it.
Okay, well, I can save this one because it pertains to the chief. I have a feeling we're not going to go over the Crederi report tonight, but I did want to point out that it's not completely correct. in the executive summary, ES1, it refers to a pile of soil was identified near the southern site boundary and was assessed to have been generated from grave excavations from the adjacent St. John's Cemetery. Well, I can tell you that berm is screen loam that was donated to us by the Winnisquam Regional School District when we were developing the ball field.
What, repeat that again, what do you,
Yeah.
He says that a pile of soil, i.e. dirt, was identified near the southern site boundary and was assessed to have been generated from grave excavations from the adjacent St. John Cemetery.
who did that, Chip?
This is Crederi's report.
That was wrong.
And I
Not the
believe
ball
he
field.
got that information from the diocese.
Okay, well, that's not what it is.
Yeah.
Because I know, because I used my tractor to pile it up there when they were done. That was the leftover soil. I mean, it was screened at the time it was put there. It's probably not there now because it has lots of scrubby growing through it. The other thing they say, this was the only use until the late 1990s when this entire site had been cleared and turned into a grass field. Now, I don't know, maybe my memory is not serving me correctly, but I do believe that Pike used that as the staging ground when they did Exit 20, did they not? Because that was one of my concerns when they were looking at this, to make sure there weren't any piles of asphalt, tar
Chemicals,
buried in there
whatever.
someplace.
Just like the rumors of the buried trucks where the diner is and all.
That's right. And by 1998, the site was in use as an athletic field, and that's not so. That was in the early 2000s. So it's just kind of technical, but like I said, the reason I was concerned is when Pikes use it as a staging ground, what might be buried there. Now, this isn't the entire report, and as I was reading the attachments to this, they did talk about, peat.
Pete who?
I beat it.
What?
A peat bog.
Oh,
Keep on.
EAT.
Yes, that was down, and I was looking at it on the computer and had to be taken away from something else and didn't see how far down it was. Did anybody else read that in there?
About a peat bog?
That a certain distance down they found, and I forgot what they referred to, a peat muck or something.
Oh, I don't remember seeing that.
It's in the appendixes, it's not attached to this
Do
report.
we have that report?
Yeah, it's in your,
It's on the computer,
I,
it was sent to us.
yeah, I sent it to you via email, and it's in your binders.
Part of the TA report in the back as an FYI.
There's a bunch of appendixes attached to it. Well, it's not in this document that I've got. It's in the back. So what we got sent to, why can't I talk?
Or you saying?
What was sent to us via the
Yeah.
computer are all the
Okay,
appendixes,
you didn't get the,
and this doesn't have those. But I saw it when I was skimming through those, just to see what they found. I was looking for asphalt. Glad I didn't.
so,
And that may not be a recognized environmental condition, which is what they were looking for, but I'm still concerned if they did find that there, how deep is it, and is it significant to,
Didn't Pike excavate it like they did where Tanger is? And then after they were done, that's when they did their swap with the diocese?
I don't know if they ever exercised that, and I don't remember it as being a borrowing pit. They used to park a lot of equipment over there,
So it was always at that,
because the gravel yard
Elevation.
was across the way.
huh?
The gravel yard was on the other side.
Well, you're talking Arthur Whitcomb. Pike also did some excavation of his own where Tanger was, so I would have figured they also did it in that.
I don't know.
It
I
says,
just, like I said, when I was skimming through those appendixes, I did see the mention of the peat.
it says water and sewer are provided by Lockmere Village District.
Oh, that's wrong.
Thanks, Joe.
What page is that on?
Yeah, we're on West Main Street.
3-1. 3-1. 3.3 site utilities.
Yeah, they really need to correct this.
Okay,
This is not good.
so what page are you on, Pat?
3-1,
Okay,
and then 3.3 site utilities. Water and sewer services are provided by the Lockamy Village District. Liberty Utilities provides natural gas. Well, water and sewer, water is Aqueduct,
It's not
Til-
lying there.
and sewer is the Tilton Sewer.
How could they got so much of this wrong? Aren't we paying them big bucks to get this right?
a lot.
You paid for it wrong, now you get
And
paid
they
for it
refer
right.
to that in a number of places in here, but I think they should correct it.
So,
Right.
so
It does look nice.
would you talk to them if I make the connection?
Of course, whatever you want.
Right.
Whatever you want.
I will get that done tomorrow. Okay, ask them to talk with you on Monday?
You can give my cell phone.
Okay, I'll do that.
So you're gonna work with her on the,
Yeah.
on the pit and the, all of that dirt?
So Chief, I saved this part of my report just for you.
Okay.
Ashland and Dublin Drive. I was down there a couple of weeks ago. I have a bunch of friends that live in different places down there. One's on Dublin and one's actually on Arrow. What is this? Maybe it was a month ago. I was pulling out of what they refer to on as Arrow Way. So if you go down Ashelot to the and go straight, instead of taking a left, you go straight and it dead ends. So I was coming from that way, and I'm going to tell you what. I almost got clipped by this car that was just flying out of there. And then I heard from a couple other people that live in the area, and I made some inquiries. And this is common. Seems to be coming from one location down there. And my concern is, there's 4 beaches down there that these people walk to, so you have a lot of pedestrian traffic, and of course, there's some summer people coming back down there. And if we've got somebody speeding through there that fast, it's a dangerous situation. Is there anything we can do? I mean, I was thinking speed bumps, but I don't know how you'd put one in there with the configuration of the roads, where you'd put one that would make sense. You'd almost have to put 2. So I don't even know if that's a solution, but it's not safe.
Take a look at it. Did they say specific times or dates at all? Morning, evening?
I was coming out in, the afternoon. I think it was sometime between, I'm going to say 3 and 4:30, or something like that. Other people have said it's in the morning. So, that sounds
So it
like
sounds
going
like
to
to
work
and
and
from
coming
work.
home. It does, doesn't it?
It does.
Sounds like going to work and coming home.
Yeah, I'll have them do some record patrols down there and.
What kind of information are you looking
Thank you.
If it doesn't like, I'll bring it back to the board.
Yeah, because I was at the daycare. I mean, so that's little kids. It just was frightening. Thank you, Chief. Oh, good, thank you.
Okay.
Do you wanna
have
talk?
anything?
No.
Yeah, I already got you. The only thing I had was to mention that I noticed along the guardrail, Route 3 by the river, that with this past flooding and storms, there's a couple of 3-foot sections where the road just goes right and then it's completely washed out now. And I know they say it's safe, but this makes what we're very concerned about at the aqueduct. This is like nothing's happening up there. You take a look when you drive along 3 and 11, the edge of the pavement in that guardrail, and you'll see it's completely washed out, the pavement right there into the river. It's gone. And it's from the last flooding has made it even much worse. So
Do you get a better angle from the railroad bridge?
you can get an angle just driving up the road if you look.
Where's this at?
Right over here past Cummings.
Past
Okay.
Cummings, all along that guardrail, it's getting completely washed out and eroded away. That is the only, if something happens to that road, I don't know where we could detour to. Be a mess. You know what I'm talking
Would
about,
be a
right?
mess.
No, you just have a traffic light, single lane.
You know what I'm talking about?
School Street, Big Hill.
Between Cumbies and the police station, the guardrail more towards Cumbies, right along there, the erosion has washed out the whole side, so the pavement goes like this and then goes out behind the wall, that's a retaining wall, so it's all washing out under there. And there's sections of guardrail, the posts are washed out.
That whole road underneath is undermined.
Yeah.
If you look, and also on dry days, right where the stone wall is, comes out from the top of the mansion is, you can actually see water where it's bubbling up right there on that sidewalk. That whole area. It probably needs to be looked at, I would say, because if that washes out,
That would be months and months to fix that, because, yeah. So,
I'll call DOT. Didn't come out.
I know they said it's not a big concern when they were here a year ago. when we
They said it was
about
fine.
But it really, I think.
Okay.
So actually, maybe, I was gonna go take some pictures of it, but I started walking on that side of the guardrail, but I didn't, there was nothing there.
Yeah, have it with
So
you.
maybe,
Blue lights.
yeah, make some blue
it's
lights.
better on the other side of the river, taking a high-powered lens and getting it on that side.
Yeah. We'll get the GoPro with the selfie pole and,
So we need drones. Flying drone on that.
that might be good, if you know somebody's drone. So that's all I have.
You
That's all I have.
might want to mention that we're looking for the oldest resident.
Yeah. I think that's in-
You got that on your list? No?
But anyway, we are looking for the eldest
You want to,
resident in town.
do you have your, it's on the website. Read it.
For the Boston Post game.
For the, I realize what it's
We're
for,
looking
to
for
award the
oldest
Boston.
president.
Do you want me to read it?
I'm trying to pull it up. I don't have the website there.
So we're looking in search for the Tilton's oldest resident. Town officials are searching for the oldest Tilton resident so that they can continue the tradition that began over 110 years ago and present that person with the Boston Post cane. The last cane was presented to Rhoda Crowell in April of 2018, and Miss Crowell has moved and will not be returning to Tilton. Anyone knowing who the oldest resident is and would like to nominate them must submit a letter to the Tilton Town Clerk at tctc@tiltonnh.org. The submission must include the nominee's name, date of birth, along with proof of that date, address, and telephone number. Also, please include the nominator's contact information. Nominations must be received by June 12th.
Okay, that's it for Selectmen's reports.
Ready for me?
Sure.
First thing I have on my, you've got my report. First item I have is the Winnisquam Market parking challenges that we've been seeing down there over the last few months. When we first brought this to the selectmen, you asked us to come up with a solution, with a plan. And so the chief and I and Kevin went down to the market, was it last, or was that Monday? Monday. Met with the two owners of the Winnisquam Market and the two property owners, the ones that have been kind of butting heads. And we believe we've come up with a solution, and I asked Kevin and the chief to come in tonight to go over that with you and see if you agree with this so that we can get it resolved. Do you want to come up, both of you?
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
I simplified the map, the official map from planning, and I just got all the guff so we can.
Do you need to look at it?
Well, that's
Well, good.
So basically, we met with all the stakeholders, and they, after a lengthy conversation about what the issues were, we came up with a plan that they all seemed that they could agree with. And that's what the chief and Kevin are going to go over with you. So if you want to just present it.
Do you want to go over your diagram and I can help answer questions?
Okay, well, I guess the biggest change that we're going to do is we're going to take the one-way. Okay. We're going to take the one-way out. Apparently that was a...
They're proposing to take it out.
Proposing, excuse me. Proposing to make it a two-way travel again. Right now it was, not right now, but there were do not enter signs making that one-way added last year or the year before to try to alleviate the congestion down there. But they really, I think it created more of an issue than it solved, because people were a way for people to leave the market was restricted, so it added a lot of confusion. They had to come and go at the light. Well, there's not enough real estate right there for people to maneuver their vehicles properly. So we're going to turn that into two-way traffic. And if you notice along Route 3 there's a 50-foot mark where it says no parking. That is to ensure that we have the proper width for two-way traffic at that point there. There's a choke point there. We couldn't allow people to park on the side.
It's only 22 feet.
Yeah. So with the blue parking spaces start, that's where we have the proper width to accommodate 2 lanes of travel. And then further down towards town, at the other end of the median, we're going to leave a 10-foot easement so that people can make the corner without being crowded by people parked right next to the corner. Now across from, I believe it's 1025 Laconia Road? Yes. Directly across from Laconia Road, there's an access to that person's property. Now, one of the biggest complaints is that people park there, blocking...
Wait a minute. Which property are we at?
Right.
The one on the lake?
Yes, the one on the lake.
Okay.
And this is where he's
They
talking
park
about
in the dirt road. Same thing I was telling you.
Yeah, they park there willy-nilly, and yeah, they block their driveway. So we propose to paint on the pavement hash marks with white paint and no parking. To designate that area, no parking. Because
Wait a minute.
people,
Why did we do that again?
We have,
We haven't.
we
No,
haven't.
why are you suggesting that we make that no parking?
Because people park in front of that resident's driveway and go into the store.
yeah, times
Yeah.
they park in here.
Yes, I know they do.
And so he wants to put no parking right at the entrance to that. So they can't park in there, or not supposed to.
So the proposed no parking is town property.
The residents were okay with the
And
two.
am I looking at these 2 dots is the entrance to their,
Correct.
Yes.
so this, okay. So this in fact is over here. I'm looking at my old map trying to get a bearing. So that's where their, this line is now their fence
That's
line?
their fence,
No.
correct.
Okay, this is their fence line?
That's their fence line.
Okay.
I see.
Okay, thank you, that makes it clear for me, I'm sorry.
That, just to be clear, this line here, that fence line does not go all the way down. It stops right
No.
around
So
there.
they've got it
But that's their
marked, right.
property boundary.
Okay.
So what about the parking over here in front of the,
We weren't asked for, That's their property, they're looking to add in the future, but it's nothing solidified.
Well, wasn't there parking in front of the condos,
Mhm.
which is our parking?
Mhm.
That's our parking.
Mhm.
So why isn't that in this picture here?
Because that's not what we were there.
That was not what,
discussing.
we were talking about the problem between,
problem.
in that area.
One of
So, but it adds to the discussion about one-way or two-way, because this narrows down here and having it one-way, because this is a congested area when the seafood places open and they park in front of the seafood place, because now you have all the congestion here if you make it two-way, which is the discussion that we had 2 years ago. And we said, okay, we'll make it one way going this way, and that way everybody comes in here, everybody leaves this way, and nobody gets congested whatsoever, because this is a very busy business, so it does have something to do with the parking here. So when you affect here, you're affecting here too. When you affect here, you're affecting over in front of Winnisquam as well. So if you change either place, you're affecting both places. So you change one way, you're changing that over here, either way. So
The parking in front of the store, were you changing anything there? It looks like this
Just
is,
an angle.
Just the end,
the angle is different than this.
it is different. It's to accommodate a 10-wheeler
There's like a
getting
fence
behind
somewhere
or beside
around
the
here.
building
Yep.
for fire rescue
places here.
or
He's
for
got a
trash
driveway
removal.
here.
mhm.
He wants to have his delivery trucks pull in there, but right now.
You're not gonna, so we
you have a
spent
copy
2
of this?
years on this.
Oh, yes, that's what I got this one from.
Okay, because this one actually has a vacant space here,
Yep.
where this one doesn't. It's right there.
The map that I was going from didn't have parking spaces. The map that I had gotten was just showing property boundaries.
Oh,
And there are no lines right now, so I just want to back up a bit.
This is just a,
If the issue with the taking down the do not enter signs, which, and Gail had kind of whispered in my ear too, the same thing that you had said, which is the lobster connection in the marina, which we were only looking at one problem down at the other end. So maybe we leave that and revisit because that isn't critical right now. It proposed making it an easier flow, but what's critical right now, because is solving the parking problem between these driveways. And so if we can't do that, if we don't right now, if we need to do further investigation by not removing those do not enter signs, I say let's leave that where it is, but let's deal with this issue with the owners right now, which is putting in the no parking and angling the parking spaces so that there's better access.
Do they currently have Winnisquam Market parking only up on their buildings?
No,
no.
There's a sign that says Winnisquam Market Parking, right in the front of the building. I saw it
I
yesterday.
don't have signs. It must have been something they put up.
It's not on the front
Oh,
of
it's
the
not our
building,
sign.
it's at the front of the building, right? Oh, no, it's definitely something they put up. It's
Well,
got their logo and everything on it.
well, they, just to be clear, they realize, because we've had this conversation with them, that this is town property, and that by getting this parking, you are doing that for them. They understand this is not theirs. We've had that conversation, including the two parking spaces that Kevin is proposing in tandem over here. So they understand that.
That sign needs to come down then, in my opinion, because all this parking here is for the public, all of it.
It's public parking.
So if somebody wanted to park in the first parking space coming in way down here and walk to the market, that's fine. If they want to park here in the market and go down to have some seafood, they can.
So Kevin, I'm sorry, did you have a copy of this parking layout? Because we
No.
hired TF Bernier to put those in.
I do not have a copy of that.
No, I didn't have a copy of it either.
Is that what's Google Earth showing, Catherine?
Pardon?
Yes.
Is that what Google Earth is showing?
The only difference
The scale
between
looks on
this
it.
Bernier
6
layout
here, 5
and
here.
what they laid out were those 2 spaces on the Route 3 side at the far western end. We took those out so that the boat people could make that radius with the boats. That was the only change.
So we've had a couple of public hearings with all those business owners and condo residents here
Okay.
to try to work this out.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, no.
We have multiple conversations going on.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The chairman has multiple conversations going on.
Huh?
I'm just explaining to Jeannie that we had several public hearings on this matter with a lot of people showing up from businesses up in that area, including the marina, Winnisquam Marine, the Winnisquam Market, the seafood place, the resident that everybody parks in front of their home. And it's taken us almost 2 years to get to where we're at right now in hiring TF Bernier to do the parking and the layout and the survey, all of this to get to this point. And we can't just undo it by just saying we're gonna, propose making it a two-way now and go backwards.
And I understand that, and what I said a few minutes ago is let's leave that piece alone, the two-way parking. But can we come to some solution tonight or agreement that's involving the Winnisquam Market and the property owners? Because there's a lot of tension.
I know, but my understanding was that they were perfectly fine with the agreement that we had on that map. What changed from that point to now?
I'm not sure that anything changed, nothing
I
happened.
think,
The people parking in front of their driveway even though they weren't supposed to.
that's.
And why can't we stop them from parking in front of their
This-
house?
This is a proposal.
Why can't we stop that? That's my question. Wait a minute, I'm asking the chief something.
Yeah, so we just need to post it
Do
and
you want a
stripe
copy?
it, and now that it's all new pavement,
Why do we have to post it and stripe it if it's their house?
no, it's the town property, there's
It's
no
town.
parking on it, it's like parking, there's no signs to tell them where to park or not to park. And so if we're gonna get out there and there's no parking, I just wanna have Kevin put some signage down there. And we talked about striping the
That was the exact opposite of what you said a year ago, and said we couldn't do that because it abutted his property, and it was just like being on the street, that they had every right to park on the street in front because it was a public way. Now you're saying to us that as long as I stripe it and put no parking, they have no right to park in front on that street. It's exact opposite of what you're saying a year ago.
So the
I'm
driveway,
confused.
the driveway entrance that's being blocked is new, and before that.
So they have a new driveway
They
entrance.
spun it 90 degrees.
Do they have a
Ah.
driveway permit?
That's all the way.
Right.
Did they get a new driveway permit?
That's why.
I don't believe,
Saw that, yeah.
Did they get a new driveway permit?
That I don't know, but it has.
Did they get a new driveway permit, highway director?
that comes from
That
planning.
was prior to me, and
That comes from
I
planning.
thought we had the highway do the
No.
driveway permits.
By law, it's planning. So it came from highway to planning.
Well, I haven't seen it. How about you, Catherine?
I never saw it, but it didn't come to the planning board. The planning board designated the town planner.
So now we have something that's changed. We had a plan in place.
But, so, for years, my lifetime, I used to take music lessons at that house. There was never a separate driveway there. It's right of way. So when did it become their private driveway?
It's actually a separate driveway besides the right of way.
Okay, but when do we have a deed that shows that? I mean, and it's not, I'm only saying that because this is based on the survey, because this is part of the survey. And then we asked him to lay out the parking, how that would look, you know, proper measurements, handicap, etc. And according to our survey, if you look, you can see where our boundary is on this. And it goes straight across. And now I'm looking at this print, and I'm wondering where their line was. Now all of a sudden we have to make...
Yeah.
So we also have the right-of-way, and now we seem to have a driveway that was part of the right-of-way?
Mm-hmm.
The addition of their fence makes this null and void.
I mean,
It really does.
they chose to put up the fence.
Right.
Whether
No, but what I'm
that's...
saying is, by them adding that fence, it choked down that right-of-way, which changed the whole configuration of this map. So that's why I'm saying this map is null and void now, because of the addition of that fence.
Well, only, not as far as our boundary goes.
No, but
So
as far
it's
as
not
the
null and
development,
void, except for the ingress and egress between the two
residence.
buildings.
Why are we jumping through hoops? There's somebody, every time you come up with the plan, is going to change it. I don't get it. This is the third time a change has been made by this resident after we've come up with the plan.
So, do we have some, I'm looking to see if do we have, number one, did they get a driveway permit? Because one didn't exist. Do we, I don't know why we'd have to research it, but, right, do they have a deeded
Could I
driveway?
chime in for a second here? I think if we look at what we're proposing, this here is a right-of-way where nobody should be parking, regardless if there's a fence there, who owns it, a driveway, a right-of-way, or anything. We don't want anybody parking there. So we all can agree on these spots, right? We can agree on the spot, these lines in front of Winsquam Market? Can
Well, I
everybody
can
agree
agree
on that?
on these. They're drawn a little differently.
Well, the angles change a little bit.
And I like the spaces that were allowed between the ingress and egress and the parking space. That's not on that.
If we can get to some portion of an agreement on some of this tonight, that would be great. And my thoughts are that right-of-way, nobody should be parked in front of any of it, so let's strike the whole thing. with
Well, we
asphalts.
have,
Why should
Nobody
we
can-
stripe the,
So
whole- why
this-
should we be striping it? It's their right of way.
this shows the right-of-way, the ingress and egress in its entirety, whether part of it is a driveway or not. So they could access before they chose to put up their fence. They could chose to access their driveway through this right-of-way. Now they're choosing to access their driveway in a different location, I think,
Put the fence up.
Yeah. The
because
driveway didn't used to be there.
of their fence.
That's
They
correct.
include the right-of-way as part of the driveway now.
That's correct.
So
Right.
even though their ingress and egress was via our property, it still is, but it does, I don't know.
We
I
still
mean,
the
I can
same,
agree, the only thing I could agree to on this is these two
Come
spaces,
back again.
moving them. Because it further clears the ingress and egress, better than this. Because I could see this space here, you know, the commercial trucks that go in and out of there, this first space on our original print. I mean, I can think of a Dawson's concrete truck that would park there that you couldn't get behind that side to go in the ingress and egress. So I could go with moving them to look like this, but I'm kind of with Pat. It's not up to us to mark this is no
Okay.
parking for them
Well,
on our
I
property.
guess maybe the chief.
If they want to put up signs on their property that said, please do not block driveway or no parking driveway, that's up to them.
So if somebody parks on a town road blocking somebody's driveway, and we have no signs out there saying you can't do that, how can the chief enforce it? Or can
So,
the chief?
at my house, in my driveway on Route 3,
A little different, you'd have.
You have a
Nope,
driveway
same thing.
permit.
nope, but I have times when I can't get out my driveway, more often than not, because usually the police have pulled somebody over in the bottom of my driveway, so I go across my lawn. Now, I'm not requiring the town to put up a sign that says, please do not block driveway. It's the same thing. It's a civil matter. It's my driveway, my property. If I don't want anybody to park in front of my driveway, I'll put up my own sign. It's up to the police. If I call them and say, somebody's blocking my ingress and egress to my property, I would suspect the police have every right to go there and say, excuse me, this is an ingress and egress, a driveway, if you will, to this private property, and you're blocking it. You know, if an emergency vehicle gets in, that's dangerous. I, the abutter, do not have to put up signs for the other property that abuts me. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, what I'm saying, and what I think is, as our responsibility as a town, if we have some driveway and it's off of a public road that's continually getting blocked, the amount of time that it takes Kevin and 5 gallons of paint, put the stripes down, would be much better served than having people call the police department to go down there and argue with the neighbor over who's going to tow it and who's not going to tow it.
So we're
And I
gonna do
think
that for
would be-
everybody in town that abuts a town road?
No, this is a solution right here.
Let me know, because I'm gonna make a phone call.
This is a solution for a very busy area with a market, with a traffic light right there, where we're
But you
going to
have
be
to
tied up with law enforcement a lot.
Hold on a
I don't
minute.
think you can hold this to a
This-
private driveway, because this is.
Hold on a minute. Look at the history of this.
We don't want somebody.
I also would like to know if they have a driveway cut before they decided to move it. I'd like to know if they have a driveway cut.
No matter what we do, no matter how many plans we've made, no matter how many changes we've done, they have managed to find another way not to be satisfied with the plan. Sorry, but that's the way it is. And we've come up to I'm not satisfied, get out of my own way, and they've found some way not to be satisfied with the owner or previous owner of Winnisquam Market.
It might be a point where we tell them how it's gonna get done, and we don't want people blocking right of way, because it's a safety concern. If we have to put stripes up there and do it, let's do it.
I'm
If we-
okay with this parking over here. I'm not okay with striping the no parking, and I'm not okay with the way that these parking spaces are angled in front of Winnisquam. I am okay with parking in front of the Winnisquam Market, but I'd like to go with this plan because we are one-way parking going in there, and we all agreed on one-way parking
I did.
for a long time, we
The
did.
reason we went with this plan is because it
got some,
maximized the number of
excavating
parking
and paving to do?
spaces we could have along here
No, I don't.
for all the businesses,
Including the market.
not just one.
I have a
Kevin,
question.
go ahead, Kevin.
Were these plans generated with us taking back our easements because they were encroached on? Because none of that work has been done yet, and it's not gonna be done for at least another year.
Right, we asked him to include that in here,
So,
but it isn't really, if you look at it, because these spaces would actually move closer to the boundary line.
yeah, which are.
We asked him to maximize the amount of parking along
I understand
here,
that, but we have a.
and that's what he's done.
There's a lot of property,
But again, if you take out the one-way and and take out these parking spaces to maximize this because of the narrowness, now we've lost spaces. And again, this was drawn and the one-way was put in so we could have this number of spaces. We already lost 2 down here because of the turning radius. And now we're gonna lose, 2 or 3 up here if we remove the one-way.
More like 4.
That's going to affect these businesses down here.
Mr. Chairman, question. So you talked about having 3 public hearings with all the stakeholders, and this is the plan that you came up with, and this was the plan that everyone agreed to?
And this is what Brock striped.
Yes?
Close.
Well,
Back when this
yes,
Yeah.
was different owners of the market.
but not different property owners next door.
No.
So they were well aware of this plan.
Right.
Correct. Correct.
I would say, they were at the meetings.
They were at the meetings. This is what we distributed. You can see the date on it.
Right, well, I think we have some work to do still. We're gonna have to go back to these folks and talk to them. I
See,
was not aware of this plan, was not aware of public
So-
hearings.
So there's one more thing that I would like to add, and it goes to Kevin's point, that you may not be able to get this exact angle on here because work hasn't been done. You're not going to get it in front where that
Right.
piece of land is either. But this is the future plan going forward here. So in a year from now, we may be able, I think the plan is a year from now, we're going to take this little spot back and do this angle. So once this work is done and telephone poles are moved back and so on, we'll be able to get this. Eventually, this is what it's supposed to look like. So I get where you don't want these parking because they've changed the configuration at the end, and I would definitely go with that parking. But eventually, not at this moment, this is what it's going to look like, hopefully. Not this absolute moment in time. But they're all aware, we had condo residents and asking questions and so on and so forth. This place was full.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't this year the phase where we did remove the
After it was paid, right.
property that's encroached on ours, the dirt?
Yes.
The dirt. And
The dirt,
and
right.
put in
But
like ledge
I
pack
did-
or whatever you put in.
I did speak with Joyce about this, and the Eversource, no, it's Consolidated Communications owns those poles.
Right.
And we apparently have not gotten a response from them about moving the poles back. So
We need to talk to a local manager.
We did discuss, even if the poles weren't moved back, that we want to start removing things from that property and
Can't do it.
is there anything that, from the work that we did with those folks, is there anything here that you, on a temporary basis, because this is not going to happen in the next month, I think. I don't know when this is going to happen, but the situation is, again, it's town property. You know, Chief, the tensions that are going on. I have concerns that we try to do something, show that leadership, do something temporarily at least until we get this plan in place.
I would temporarily do it as this plan without the striping of no parking.
And then put up a sign?
I was just gonna ask.
And have them,
Put a sign.
and let them put up no parking signs.
I would not want to see those parking spaces removed on the Route 3 side. I'd like it to stay one way.
Yeah, I don't,
Right.
you're absolutely right, Catherine.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Winnisquam Market and these two spaces here.
I don't have a
But-
problem moving these 2 spaces,
You're right.
doing
Don't
this.
remove that.
But I'm with Pat. It's not our responsibility to put no parking in front of a private property.
Is there a reason, Kevin, that I'm not aware of why you couldn't angle those spots more like in front of the market like they
He
have?
just didn't have this.
There's a telephone
No,
pole.
Well, no, it doesn't go that.
you're going into the Extreme
Building.
Motorsports.
There's a
Frontage.
sign there.
Okay,
so
So you can't.
there's no way that it can be
Okay.
angled right now.
So,
Like that.
But if it's temporary, it's just striping.
Yeah, and
right.
Well, this actually, if you look at your print, it shows the pole, right?
Yeah, right here.
That's it.
Right.
And it's
There's the
right,
pole.
it's on your map, it's right there.
So you're
So you
okay,
could fit these in.
so you're okay with these two spots here,
Let me see what yours is.
tandem,
I am.
as parallel, whatever you
Yep.
call it. They can put up a no parking sign, so people don't park in front of their ingress
Not on our
egress.
property, on their property.
They have to go on their fence.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And
that's
then-
just two of us, though.
And then these parking spaces here for right now,
Temporary,
temporarily
yeah.
until we get this. And I'm gonna need to do some research to find out about parking permit or driveway
Driveway
permit.
permit.
Driveway permit.
And driveway that he's using may well be illegal,
Okay,
unless there's a permit for it.
so does that, is the board okay with that as a temporary solution?
Well, that was just Catherine and I.
I know that's what,
Conferring.
that's what I'm asking,
The board.
the board.
I would just have the property owner talk to the chief to get the correct verbiage for their signs.
Okay.
And then you're okay with it?
Yes.
Okay. John and Joe?
Yep.
Yeah,
He's gotta put himself in a pinch spot where he put that fence.
Mhm.
he did to himself. His driveway used to,
Oh, yeah.
They use that whole, as you can see on that map, you can see,
Take a look here.
yeah, where the whole, you grab the little one there, and you can
That's
see
before the
what's this
fence.
paved parking, that used to kind of be open, we can walk down the fence, but that fence that goes under that dock, that's still actually the market. He told me that you can still use that. But he's used that whole outline pretty much to the T to put the fence, and then right in the corner where it kind of cuts that corner off, that's where you put the opening of the fence. So you can't go around it, can't go over it, it's through that. And we went there, and actually someone had backed into the fence post and leaned the fence post over to the report. But most of the time that we've gone there for calls, it's been delivery trucks. You know, they'll just pull in, they're used to it, they pull in, there's nowhere to park down there. They
yeah,
pull in a Pepsi truck, a Coke truck, they pull in, and they just jump out, get their stuff. And he's gotta go to work, and when he comes out, that's the only spot, and there's a big truck. So they go in, maybe the owner's not there, it's an employee that's there in the morning, opening, has no clue about the parking, he's just making his job, and is like bombarded with like, move that vehicle, and there's all kinds of problems, so.
I'm
He's trying to
surprised,
put himself in a, with that, I think, but,
Okay,
yeah.
so I just want to go over this one more time. These two spaces are okay to be striped. These spaces here are okay to be striped. We're gonna talk to the Winnisquam Market folks and tell them they have to take the sign off the building that says
it's on a
Winnisquam.
pole, but yeah, right in front of the
Okay,
building.
wherever it is, that needs to come down. The folks who live in this property can put a sign on their fence that says no parking, and they will confer with the chief on the correct language. And then I have some homework to do.
yeah, the striping should be according to this.
So,
Because it's the right distance is the number of spaces, but obviously, you're not gonna put in these yet. These will come after you've removed all that earth.
They dropped one of them, Catherine, on the
Yeah,
cluster of
I crossed
seven,
them
was
out.
it?
I think I crossed them out.
Okay.
And then I copied mine that was crossed out.
What's interesting is,
And it might be 3 that they took out.
what, on the, down by the...
By the
west-
marina.
What's interesting is the Google Earth photo I'm looking at, there's 4 down there.
We have to do better in communicating when we have new people come in and take over.
Okay, so maybe they only took out
Really
one.
need to do better in communicating.
Marina can tell you.
So when next project you say, hey, do I have anything I need to learn about this project?
Well,
Well, it's really on me. It's on me.
Oh, you're new too.
Yeah.
Come on.
we have some public input, or output, whatever you're gonna do.
Output.
If it's determined that Mr. Driveway doesn't have a permit, is he still eligible to put up signs to his satisfaction? Or does that have to be determined first, whether or not he has a legit driveway permit? I'm just curious, because it's something like, as a, state stuff.
So,
It seemed as if he was.
on your private property, you can put up any sign you want.
Well, that's part of my question.
Enforcing it? That would be a chief question.
I'm generally curious
If it turns out that's not his legal entrance, that would be up to
He
you.
created a choke point, doesn't have a driveway permit, and then, like you said, it created his own situation.
Yeah.
It's kind of on his own.
I mean, that's a right of way through there. I don't know how that got converted to a personal
A
driveway.
right-of-way
I'm taking mine off of right away.
A right of way,
There's-
call that
that's
on
kinda
the deed.
simple.
There's a conversation that took place between Laura Johnson and Sergeant Morrison,
Right away.
but she doesn't have any documentation. But do you want copies of all this?
Yeah, yes, please.
I think you should.
But also, let me rephrase what I said, he's not putting himself in that position, that is his property. And someone that's parked in front of my property, I cannot get up to it. That's a 10-foot violation, that's the problem, so. I wanted to rephrase that, yes, he did put a fence that closed that off, but I can see his problem or the issues he's having is driving people off.
And caught on the horns of his own dilemma.
So the next thing I have on my action items are the parking permit ordinance. And last week you signed the ordinance, and the chief, Abe, and Kevin, and I, and Gail have had a couple meetings now to talk about an application. Is that correct, Abe? That will go along with the ordinance. And Abe, I'll let you have the floor.
So, pretty much how this started in a nutshell is doing finding who has permits, who's supposed to be parking in the lots on, B and C lot. And I kind of noticed there was a rainbow of stickers. Went back and tried to figure out when the cutoff date was to get new parking permits for residents, right? That was my main thing with residents. So midnight, late at night, and then the parking during the winter parking ban, that was a problem. I realized that it wasn't really labeled anywhere, the October, except for like in the ordinance, but in the application, it was not put in that October 1st was the day. Don't know why we had October 1st, so I started off saying, I don't know why it's not January 1st, and kind of the ball started rolling there. So as you can see now, it's January 1st. You guys sign that, thank you. The parking stickers, also the parking permits, I think I left one with Jeannie, and I don't know if you had seen these. These are the new stickers that Lisa and I had ordered. So before, there were different colors, there were all kinds of different.
Do we have a copy of the parking?
Application.
Right behind the
Yeah, we have an
town
application.
administrator.
Oh, yeah.
I have,
You got the application?
I don't,
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get you one.
I do not have an application, I have
Sorry about
the,
that. Oh, this is the front and the back. We're gonna do both. We're probably gonna do a front and back cover. There's 2 pages right now. We'll do front and back safe paper. They're gonna sign that, go through all that stuff. I'll kind of touch base on that. I don't give you much time. But we'll talk to the stickers now. So those are the stickers. Before there were different colors. UV takes a bead on plastic or vinyl or anything else. So we did the blue with the red. The red's gonna say, the blue's gonna actually say it. It's a nice color combination. We're gonna change every year obviously the 2019, 2020. So you drive up and the back of the windshield, the back of the vehicle, and you can see automatically 2019, you're good. 2020, 2018, you're not good. You're not 2018. On the bottom, that's how many stickers we've given out, the number. The vinyl is actually, or the material, you can put the sticker on the window itself. You can adjust it and move it probably within the first 5 or 10 minutes, and after it adheres, but it's easy to get off. It's pretty much, you nail it or it rips off, but it's not, you cannot re-stick this sticker. So the thing is with that, we don't want people, they can tape, put it on, they can do that, give them a sticker if they have a registration, or if they show that they filled an application, they maybe got a new vehicle or stuff like that.
you doing placards as well?
Placards are still going to stay for the temporary parking, or for the 72-hour or 48-hour parking. We're going to be doing those. We still have the placards down there, yes. But those are for long-term, the year
Visa.
long stays, exactly, yeah. And those are for residents. So if we look, let me get that back over here. And Beth helped me a lot on this whole project also. She's very good at all that good stuff. PDF files and throwing things out. So as you can see, the old application was very basic. So an officer would go, and anything after 10, 11 o'clock, when we need to go and make contact, limited contact information. So as you can see, first, last name, home phone, cell phone, and then the vehicle information, then also, if it's not the registered owner, who the registered owner is, their contact information. Mom and dad owns a vehicle, they live in a different town. And then a secondary contact, we want to put in there for like emergency contact. But it's really, we'll put it as secondary. Vehicle needs to be moved, vehicle is struck, anything else needs fire. Down below, we put the acknowledgement of the sections of which are pretty much getting. We do that. What I really wanted to touch base on was the alert Tilton, and use that to our advantage. So we had to put a waiver in there that stated that if you signed up for the alert Tilton, that you'd be charged, the text messages and all that. So I had to get with Jesse, we'll pass it, and we put all that good stuff in there. So if they enroll in that, they say yes, we put them into the alert Tilton. I spoke with Tim. Tim's actually going to put them in a separate section that's for parking. So if we need to move vehicle for winter snow removal or anything else,
Fire in the building.
and if anything, we can send an alert out just to those parking. It's not the people that are living on School Street area, but pretty much check that. They will get a copy. So this will be front to back. This application, easy, front, back, sign it, give it back to them. They can get a receipt for their payment, $15 for parking, and then they will get a revised, which is the parking permit ordinance. It used to be parking traffic. We've condensed it, so we're not really touching base on the traffic. We're more touching base on the parking, which we're trying to do.
But the parking and traffic ordinance still remains the same. That one, we
Correct.
still need to work on an update. So this is just kind of pulled from that
Yep.
to address this specifically.
So you're using the same language, you're just taking out
Right.
parking and separating it from
Yeah, so
traffic.
that when they read that, they sign it, they're gonna have that form, so down the road, if we have to tow the vehicle, we know that we've covered every basis. We've given them the ordinance, we've let them sign up for the alert Tilton, have contact information. They need to inform the police department when they change their contact information, so they can get hold of them. So that's pretty much it.
How did you come up with $250 for parking in a handicap parking
It's the
space?
law.
That's as much as you can
It's
charge?
the law,
Yeah,
yeah.
those are set by RSA.
I would like to charge $500. Make you think 3 times before you
It's
park
not
in a
about
handicap space.
We have problems with the $15 to $25 people paying those, and that would be something to speak with. We actually took it. We have it in another section. We're not going to talk about it tonight, but people not paying it. So I just had one the other day, 5 tickets. I wasn't going to run another one parked on the sidewalk. I just towed the vehicle. I mean, parked on the sidewalk, I'd probably tow the vehicle anyways, even if we had a boot, just because it was on the sidewalk going to the school. So I'm not going to let it sit
How
there.
expensive are those boots?
They're cheap. $100, $50, depending on make and
I
model.
think we used to buy them in Plymouth, a little bit more, a couple hundred. We had to use them up there quite a bit.
There's different companies that make them now.
I was gonna say, are they like the ones they had at Winnisquam? They put them on a student's rig. He just took it off, put a spare on it, threw the tire in his cheek and drove off.
No, they don't come off.
You can get the clamps that go through, so those are the real cheap ones, or you get the
Yeah.
boot, you can't get to the lug nuts, so. So that
We
would
had kids try, they couldn't get them off. Basically, they would have to come up to the town department and write a check, and then we would send someone down to take it off.
This is just.
And it'll actually work out good. In the ordinance, was actually, the boot was in there, which was nice. I mean, we're not really on touch base, but it would be like $65 that was put in there a while ago to
It's
take
a
the
boot
boot
fee,
off.
yeah.
Down the road, we probably get stickers to say, hey, the vehicle's been booted, do not touch, yada, yada, yada. And then you'd have to go down and pay those fines before you can get that boot removed.
So we're not gonna boot cars anymore?
We don't have a boot, and I
Why
had
don't
to
we get a
get,
boot?
I would like that's me. I'm
It's
in that part.
phase 2 of this is
Yeah,
to
to
do
talk
that.
to you about the boot.
We need to purchase boots, and then clauses also in those boots of
Well,
damage.
crying out loud, we had it in all this time without a boot, can't we just,
Well, it's in there, just I think we need to fine tune the.
I think we need to get a boot first, I was
I have
looking.
a
It's
couple
been in there for
questions
10
about
years.
what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to get a permit, you don't actually have to put it on a car that's registered at a downtown address or anything, it can go on any car.
We kind of touch base on that. You should be downtown. I mean, what are you thinking, like?
No, well, let's say, you know, I want to get a sticker for, I live downtown, I want to get a sticker for somebody else, you know,
Visiting,
visiting, or, you
There's a
know, maybe I
visitor's
could get a
pass.
couple, because,
Yeah.
you know, or cars that actually aren't registered here, maybe,
Okay.
so if my mother wants to come visit me,
Yeah, you can get
I
a
can get a
visitor-
sticker for her.
Yep, it's a visitor's pass is what it is. So you come down to the police department, there's no charge. The language on here actually says, there's no fee for it, and the selectmen have the say if they want to, have a fee.
And that's for a temporary thing?
Temporary, 72 hours, and it actually just gives you your registration, all your information. We actually,
Well-
IMC is great, it actually backfills everything, and we just actually put a temporary pass on your dash. You leave it on your dash.
So, but my question is,
Yeah.
like, could I go and get one, let's say, for my mother, and just pay the thing, and another one for, you know, my dad and my brother, in case they want to
No.
come down to town? What stops me from doing that? Because the cars don't have to be registered as being a resident. I mean, they don't have to be registered in Tilton, they don't have to be registered in the downtown area. You just have to live here, and then you can put that sticker on any car you want.
That's
Whether you own it
We've
or
had
not.
people move in from Laconia to downtown and they hadn't changed the registration yet. Dispatch had them show some proof that they are renting downtown.
But what I hear what you're saying
Yeah.
is, that's a problem. I can see that being a problem, because I know you're trying to, my mom comes maybe 10 times a year, but you really want to try to keep that temporary pass, 72 hours, and if we need to extend that or anything like that, but we don't want that to start happening, so maybe we need to look into the language on,
And he does make a good point, because I had a situation where somebody who lives in a single-family home, has their own driveway, purchased a sticker so the person living with them could park in tenant parking.
Yeah,
Well, that shouldn't take place,
yeah.
right. There's nothing to prohibit them now, but
there should be.
there should be.
There should be
If you
language
want
in
to
there.
be, yeah.
There absolutely should, I was just reading it, there absolutely should be language in there that
Yes.
you should be a resident
Of a specific
Well, you have
area.
to, yeah,
Not-
downtown. Yeah.
To,
I mean,
For
like-
overnight parking, if you're gonna get an application for a parking permit, you should be a resident for somewhere down there unless it's a visiting
So I
permit.
did find that, it says a valid registration and show proof of residency. Tilton registered vehicle or utility bill in their name.
so
That is
the
under.
example I posed,
Where
he
was
comes
that?
That's
in,
under J1.
I'm a resident, I want a parking placard, so even though I have a single-family home with my own driveway, my person who lives with me can use the tenant parking. Because this was designed for tenant parking, but they have their own driveway.
We just have to be careful also that how we word that, because we only have so many parking spots in Tilton.
That's right, so we shouldn't be giving them out to people who have their own driveway.
And we have a problem, that was the whole issue though also is with the highway, with Kevin, is we used to say back lot, and we've tried to figure that out. So B and C, back lot, and that's fine, but there's not enough parking spots in the back lot for the parking, or for, lot. So we've kind of linked together, and B and C is fine to park wherever, as long as they're off the main street, you can't be parked on Main Street, and we like to keep lot D, which is the municipal lot, clear. A lot you can go to, and then you have B, C, H is different, G is different, and then E is always full, and that's Mechanic Street. That's a whole mess of itself.
Should we have it so that you should be a resident of the downtown specific area?
I mean, I would think it would, that's what it's made for, I mean, that's.
But it's not
So,
just
if we
resident,
did it-
they're supposed to be tenants.
a resident or tenant, I want to make sure.
Tenant,
Because I mean,
right.
let's say, I don't have any room left in my driveway further up Main Street. If I
For
need a place
overnight.
to store my car for the winter and park it for the winter, I could pay $25 and I could park my car down here,
15 actually.
$15, and you guys are gonna keep it clear for me, so I
Right.
don't need to have it in my
So it
driveway.
would be a tenant,
So
because,
I'm
right,
thinking that somebody should be a resident or a tenant of, like, a specific area, so that, then that way all those
To
people.
track.
track to track, yeah.
Track to track,
Because that's what the parking ordinance is.
or something
track to
like
track.
that.
It is not,
It's not.
it's not track
No,
to
it's
track.
not, I found that, we
Oh,
talked
it
about
is?
that. It's
I think
actually,
it goes up a
Check
little
out
bit.
C on the first page.
yep, so you can,
Huh?
so if you look at C, if you read back at the definition, and, C, is that what you said?
Downtown or port area.
So down, so,
You could
See,
say
don't-
core area, yep, so if you see, yep, BC, it says downtown area, core area, the public, and if you read that, it says railroad tracks east of Cumberland Farms, so that's heading towards the PD.
Oh, we added winter.
And to Winter Street.
Yeah, we did, we
Yeah,
added
You could
winter.
say
The
reside
first
in-
one was railroad to
We
railroad.
did that to include the parking along
We
the
did it
river.
to-
You're right, yep.
Yeah.
You do that
And
once.
which, but we have since, didn't we remove the 2-hour parking along the river?
Mhm, we did,
Just recently.
recently,
I
So
don't-
you could say
We talked
reside
about
in that
it,
area.
do it.
right.
from-
I don't remember.
As defined
Last
by
week we
that
discussed it,
section.
but we said to do nothing till tonight.
Because you didn't know, you thought it was railroad track to railroad track, and then after that was a Citgo station, you come around where the old bell factory is, and you come up and around. But technically, it's Winter Street to the railroad track, so actually, it still is under the same do not park.
So it should be railroad track to railroad track.
Right, because originally it was railroad track to railroad track. We added it because we had, going up along the side, we added the 2-hour parking to the, along where Cropsy's parking is, right there. But we also added it because of Riverfront, the 10 spaces in Riverfront, but that's not overnight parking, so it easily.
I mean,
can
our
be-
parking in Riverfront.
Yeah,
We don't want no
So we
parking in
don't-
front of where the guy had gone into the river, we don't, overnight, I tow any vehicle, or I. and
it's
it's-
minimum 2-hour
So
parking, so
we
the
should-
parking ordinance.
Excuse me for a second, but we were talking about what stops anybody from parking downtown. Now we're talking about parking spaces down the other end of
No,
town
we're
and
talking
railroad
about
tracks.
the parameters of the parking ordinance, which
No,
includes.
my
No, we
question,
are.
Pat, it was my question, and my
Right.
question is how do we prevent non-residents from this area from obtaining a sticker that they could give to somebody or park
The
a car
answer
anywhere
was,
downtown?
they're going to have to consider
actually-
So
that.
that will have
Right,
to
we
be,
answered that, and went
figure
on to
something out.
something else, John.
And
I don't know where you were.
And John, actually, the other question that you asked is what stops somebody like you?
Right,
me,
So we're gonna have to, now, does that need to happen in this parking permit application? Or is it in the traffic and parking ordinance that we're still working on?
I would probably add.
Add it to the-
I just add it to the parking, it's just,
right,
you don't want someone to then get this ordinance.
So what are we
and say,
gonna-
I wanna buy my mom and my dad
Right.
a
Right.
sticker, and it
Eligible.
doesn't say it on here, and.
Right.
Okay,
and then-
so we're gonna put something in
figure something
there.
out. I'm trying to find the loopholes that
Right.
somebody else before,
And
somebody
then-
else does.
Address that in a second.
And we also, I think we spoke about that, and it kind of then bled into like temporary,
yep,
but. I just
But
say
this
get
is a-
past the whole common
Yeah,
sense thing
and
about
this
it.
is a bigger conversation, because the next step of this is the traffic and parking ordinance. So you've brought up a lot of good questions that then would have to fold into that.
That one.
So that almost, I wonder if, rather than us as a smaller subgroup working on this, if it shouldn't be a work session with the selectmen.
I think
That'd
we
be-
should,
yep,
I think we should, to go back to Pat's conversation, really need to think about, do we really want to take and change those parking spaces along the river from 2-hour parking? Because those are public parking spaces to be used for people who want to go anywhere,
right,
whether it's Riverfront Park, Riverfront Place,
Yep.
across the street.
which would change the
Tilton
parameter
House.
from railroad to
So I
railroad.
think we
in
need
this.
to change whether,
Mhm.
I mean, I wouldn't personally right now be inclined to change it from 2-hour parking.
No, we were out,
But
we were not
We
here
don't
for
let
that.
anyone overnight park. in
But overnight,
Main
that's
Street.
the only problem we have is the overnight
Midnight.
park.
shouldn't be overnight.
No, and that's what we don't,
Not
so I
along
was thinking
there.
the verbiage for the main street, the railroad track to railroad track is no parking between the main, that's Main Street. So we take it out of there, then you have to now add faster tracks towards Winter Street because they're not in that little section anymore. That's something, because you come around that corner on midnight or nighttime
And they're
and
there.
someone's parked and then
Got
maybe,
it.
you're gonna get an accident right there. So
Yep.
it's things that, we always have that turning lane, that you guys brought that up.
Right, yep.
That so-called turning lane that everybody uses.
Right,
They're not thinking, they come around the corner, they get their blinker on, they're
Yep.
looking over the store, and there's a car stuck right there parked.
right.
Take it back there.
Got
I
it.
mean, obviously, it's gonna be their fault, but
So,
I wanna try to get them.
This should be a work session, it would be
So-
nice.
Now, I have a comment of my own on this. Lot A is the post office, the old post office parking lot. That is currently resident guest parking only. However, every day, patrons of the old post office park there. A lot of people park there for the businesses right in that area. This would prohibit that use because they're not a resident or a resident's guest.
Technically, yes, when we first started this, it was, oh, we don't use Lot A anymore, it's gone. It's now the community, and that, I think that was brought up at the board, no, A is, I think they brought, A is still the town.
Took our parking lot away?
No,
no.
hold on a minute. No, because the way that this is interpreted is this is overnight and it's overnight spillage.
That's what we're talking
However, every single parking lot is public
about.
to have there. So many times when Riverfront has an event and we overflow, we say, oh, we've got, next to the post office is public parking. You go right over there to public parking. T-Hop is public parking. You go over there. Many times. Anywhere, any one of our parking lots is public. All day, every day. The only difference in that is there are certain parking lots designated for overnight. Otherwise, every single one of our parking lots, and we were very sure to make that very clear, that all of our parking is public parking. So we have, when the church is full, we say public parking is the resource center. So Abe, you really need to make
So are you saying,
reference to
It
that.
does say, it says residents, guests, it does say A lot, B lot, C lot, that's,
right, and
it
it
does say,
says,
that's theirs, and I police that at night.
it says Tilton issued parking sticker guest pass required, but my point is, so if we use it for tenant overnight parking,
Mhm.
during the day it should be available for public use.
Absolutely.
So is that a sign with time limit and then change this language to indicate that? I don't know.
And
Well,
once
we
they
don't-
close, they move out, you know.
We don't have B like that. We don't have a overnight only,
Yeah.
Never had that.
And I really only have like 2 vehicles that park there right now.
But the ordinance says
6 spots.
for Lot A, B, and C, Tilton issued parking sticker or guest pass required. So technically, right now, it's like I will often park in that parking lot and not at Riverfront so that people attending can, use those.
I think it
So
needs to be
technically,
changed.
I can't park there because I don't have this placard.
I
Right.
think the intent of that sentence is for overnight, and we just need to probably.
You're just gonna
clear
clarify it?
Just need to
For the
clarify
parking,
it,
yeah, 'cause
right.
they're getting this for parking, that's.
All right.
goes with that.
So you can clarify that?
Yes.
So,
So it's just a clerical thing, Catherine, because you really, if they have a party or something at Riverfront, they should be able to, because when Gail does a rental and everything, and they ask where there's parking, correct me if I'm wrong, Gail, but you often say that there's a public parking down
I
here,
give them a copy of
a copy of the parking,
map.
right.
Could we, I think we have a lot to do on this. Can we
So,
make a
I
suggestion to do a work session on
Yeah.
this?
and we,
And then, because there's a lot to go through.
Oh, there was that
No, no,
button
no, no.
Yeah.
so,
And-
no, no.
We've given them
Everybody
good
can take a
order
look.
to
At-
Jeannie, could-
change some things.
Yeah, at this point, my understanding is the parking permit application, you are good to go with, except we need to make a little clarification change, which Abe will make that language change and we'll bring that back to you next week to get that signed off on, and then you'll be good to go on that. The traffic and parking ordinance we need a work session on. So I think we'd like to get this done. So if you're willing, we should do a work session next week on this and get it done.
Wednesday night?
What's that?
Said Wednesday night? Or are you talking about Thursday selectmen's meeting?
Unless you want to have an additional night, I was thinking Thursday, but if you want to do it, if you want to have an extra night.
We have budget next week, I think.
I don't know what the agenda is looking for next.
Oh, we could come in
I
at
think
5.
the idea that if we all have, look at it and do our homework,
Right.
we can get through it pretty quick, yeah. 'Cause I
Do
think
you
we
all have a copy of the traffic parking ordinance in your binders
Yes.
Yeah.
with that?
Can you send one out to us?
Yes, we'll do that.
Are you talking about 200?
No, we're not talking to them. That thing is ancient and shouldn't even exist.
But that's on the books.
It's in there, right?
That is an ordinance, that's on the books, and you have to look at that if you look at the other.
So you want us to take these both home and
Not the parking permit one, because that's,
That's the one that
That's the
Abe's
one
gonna
that's
make the
Abe.
small change to, bring it back, get you to sign off on it next
What is the
Thursday.
change you're going to make to
well,
it?
wait a minute, the parking,
let Jeannie finish.
Just the permanent sign, just the application.
hold on a minute, the question that I had was, the application is what he's gonna make the
Application is done.
small correction on. I'm asking about the parking permit ordinance.
Right,
Okay, is what he's gonna, we need the work session on.
No.
yes.
Yes, regardless.
Parking, maybe I'm not,
Okay.
the parking permit application, which goes along with the ordinance that you
Right.
approved last week, that Abe is gonna make a change to it, language change to
Yes.
address your concerns
Right.
about who's getting that.
Right.
That he's gonna bring back next Thursday, you're gonna sign off on that. But if you're all in agreement, also next Thursday, we will do a work session on parking, the traffic and parking ordinance, which we will email you a copy as well. Does everybody?
Also have in your binder.
And you also have it in your binder.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say, why are you
Can
emailing?
you email it out, can you put draft on it,
Yes.
so that in the future, we don't have other, it's like, yeah, this is effective April 2019, if somebody got a hold of this and it wasn't the right one, they said, well, this is the right one, that's
All right,
it.
so
Always
taking
put draft
these-
on it.
Taking these home.
Clarify something
Yes.
before I
Sure,
start
go ahead.
going into changing? Or, that's probably gonna be tapped into your side, is the railroad tracks, is that gonna be changed, or is it gonna stay the railroad tracks to Winter Street?
We'd have to decide what we're gonna do with the parking along the river.
That needs to be changed here.
On your application?
Exactly. It's
Okay.
right here under the downtown and core area, and that kind of leads into a couple of spots. So if I go into all that, I just need to make sure that, and that was your discussion last week, with the railroad track, I thought it was that, and then now, so keep it, I just need to know that, so.
If it's overnight, if you're pertaining, the application is pertaining only to overnight parking, then I would say that we leave it in there to Winter Street to Winter Street.
No,
Winter
just
Street to
traffic.
railroad tracks.
Railroad track to
The
Winter Street.
definitions, so the definitions is in a lot of spots in the ordinances throughout our ordinance of the town. So the downtown and core area, it does say the railroad tracks to Cumberland Farm, I just want to make sure we don't have like 3 different ordinances.
Railroad track to Cumberland Farm, but you need to have that Winter Street included in
I
there
agree, 100%.
for
He's saying
overnight.
railroad tracks by Cumberland Farms to Winter Street,
Yeah.
Just as it stays, that's what I think.
not to be confused with Winter Street to this railroad track, because that'd be a very short area.
I think we need to leave that in there because we don't want overnight parking on the side there. However, in the main crux of the parking ordinance itself, we can specifically state alongside, when we get to it in our work session, specifically state alongside the Main Street, the railroad, those parking spaces can be unlimited parking except no overnight.
Overnight, and that's what it says, overnight parking, that's where I found that. It says shall be unlawful any vehicle parked on Main Street in the downtown area.
Right.
So that's not bold in the overnight, but it's bold in the ordinance under the town and the parking, and that's how I found that. So I found downtown area bold, you go to the definitions, and the definitions state what downtown is, which was railroad track east,
Right.
all the way to Winter Street, and that's how I was like, okay, so it's in there.
So we need to find a way to that language to change it so that if somebody wanted to fish on the side there and have a 3-hour fishing with their granddaughter, they could on the side once the rail gets fixed. So,
It's 2 hour round rides.
right, and so some selectmen want to change that to more to unlimited during the day if they chose to, which is fine with me. I have no problem with that. So,
I just don't want when they turn, like, usually no turning lane.
right.
Are you going to, on the parking permit application, are you going to on here require them to put the sticker on the car and where they should be putting it?
It's actually in the ordinance.
Yes, but are you going to require it on
Beth and I spoke about that.
this?
If-
Because that's what they're going to take
Can
with
we,
them.
can we do this in the work session?
You're not gonna do
Well,
that.
They're not. This is just for your use.
Is that,
Yeah, okay.
oh, that's for the
It's
permit?
gonna be in,
They're gonna
Then
give
it
us
does-
the ordinance.
they're gonna get the ordinance.
They're gonna
Yeah.
give us the parking
And
permit.
they will be told when they get the permit
That's
where
what
to
it
put
is.
it and that it has to go.
That's why the
Okay.
parking ordinance needs to be,
Yeah, but you think they're going to read it?
hey, it's all about,
They do
you
tell them,
received it, and that's it.
dispatch tells them to.
Okay, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah.
good, thank you. Thank you,
And
Kevin.
Beth, too.
No,
And
Beth,
Beth, yeah.
Beth did a great job.
All right.
You think it's bad with moving violations out there? Try just the parking ones. Nobody's even in the car and you got problems to deal with.
Some good work.
So
The worst.
if you don't have
We've
anything
had it
else,
10 years, so we did it, you know.
if you don't have anything else with these three, then I'll move on to my next item.
All said.
Did I just ask Kevin one
Sure.
quick question? The 6D and 6B, the odometer, the reading, is that easily fixed or is it cost effective?
It's very costly to repair,
Got it. That's all I need to know.
but I can with my dial computer go in and read
Yeah, okay.
mileage and hours, so.
That was just a quick question. No problem.
Thanks, Thanks, guys.
Nice job.
We received a, we received a letter from the DOT in early April asking for the town's certificate of liability insurance for the current year because they hadn't received it. So I sent the I asked our insurance company, Primex, to provide that certificate of insurance because the DOT was asking for it. Primex wanted to see the rail trail agreement. I sent it along, and they responded back that they would not provide insurance for the 2010 rail trail agreement because it's essentially indemnifying the railroad and the Department of Transportation. Too much exposure. I asked them, well, obviously they had gotten a certificate of insurance before, or we had, and that was through the prior insurance company, LGC. And what they came back with is that we would need to get additional coverage for $10,000 for this rail trail agreement. They would not provide it, but they could point us in the right direction to get that insurance for this rail trail agreement.
They want us to pay $10,000 more or $10,000 worth of insurance?
What Primex is saying is what the DOT is asking for, they estimate that will be approximately $10,000 insurance rider that we will need.
But it's not going to
That's
cost
the
us
co- that's
$10,000.
the insurance, not our cost.
No, I actually think that's
That's what they want to charge us.
not Primex. They're saying they estimate that's what it's going to cost because this rail trail agreement is basically the town we are indemnifying or we're holding harmless or covering the railroad company. What is it? What's it called? Southern.
New Hampshire Southern.
Yes.
Southern.
And the DOT.
So it's going to cost us $10,000? So I would suggest that we get in touch with Rick Silverberg and
We
have
the
a
option
meeting.
to close the trail.
We weren't supposed to be paying any monies like this.
Right, that's right.
And this is different because what I learned, the first agreement I sent them was the one that I had been working with initially, and Primex came back and said that's not, they don't believe that was the right one, so then I went back,
3.
yeah. Yes,
3.
Can we check with Laconia and Belmont, because I believe parts of the trail are on the rail in their
Yeah.
municipalities?
Yes.
Well, what I don't understand is when we contacted Primex to bid our insurance, if you will, they must have looked at it.
Yep, they looked at all our
And what
insurance.
we were insuring,
Right,
and now all of a sudden,
right.
they can't completely insure us. That's
Right.
a little bit annoying to me.
my understanding, and this was before me, but my understanding is that was LGC, which was a different
Right, but
organization
when
than
we
Primex.
switched,
When we switched, they came out,
Primex
Accepted it.
came out
accepted.
and looked at everything that we were insuring
Oh,
and said, yes, we can insure it, and they took over what they were insuring.
do you know, do we have
Joyce.
document?
Joyce would know.
So it leads me to
Okay.
ask, are we not do we not have the same coverage with Primex that we had under the local government center as far as how much liability exposure, was it 1 million, 2 million, 3 million?
And it makes you want to ask that.
That's a little
If
frightening.
that's changed, what other things have changed?
It kind of makes you ask that question, though.
What happened?
What did they do? I don't know.
No,
I'm a little befuddled.
we switched the company because that's what LGC did.
Well, LGC went out of business,
Yeah, we didn't have a choice, we had to go to somebody,
right?
and Primex was recommended.
But it's under the, under indemnification and insurance, under this rail trail agreement where we're basically indemnifying the railroad operator, the state, if there are any issues, which really exposes us.
I would say we need to have I would say that we need to call Rick and let him know immediately that we cannot get insurance coverage, and that,
Why, and I'm happy to do that, but I think I guess what I would like to do is go back to Primex and have the conversation that I just heard here, is that when they took over this book of business, that they looked at everything and they said they were going to insure everything, so I
And
want,
that was existing.
you're right, and this was
and
existing
I'd have a
at the time.
conversation, if you can, I'd have a conversation with Joyce too.
Yeah, I haven't talked to her, but I will.
Well, I think Primex is the most important.
Right,
Um,
absolutely.
And I believe somewhere in the agreements,
Meanwhile, we have people using the
this trail was not supposed to cross the town of Tilton, hence the funding, any money. There's not supposed to be an expense to us. But they agreed to cover those expenses.
Who, the rail trail?
The rail,
Rail
The-
trail people.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure which one, like I said,
Okay.
I think there's 3 separate agreements.
Right.
Okay, so I'll do some more.
Or there's 2 agreements and a memorandum of understanding, I don't know.
Right.
There's
Research
3
on that.
documents.
There's 3 documents altogether.
Okay, I'll do some more research and come back to you on that. Krista Shute, she, from the Vermont Law School Energy Clinic, was here last week talking to you about solar. She wanted, I think after her presentation, what she was looking for from you was to agree to a pilot agreement. And she and Lauren have been talking. She came back to me, I guess, 2 days ago, Krista, and wanted to come in front of the selectmen tonight again. The purpose being to ask you to hold a public hearing to discuss solar, having these solar projects happen in Tilton.
That would be a role of the planning board, wouldn't it? I mean, what would the purpose of us having a hearing? Usually you have a hearing if you're going to decide on something that affects the butters and people and whatnot. And the planning board, I don't remember if that came as a conceptual. I think it came as a conceptual.
Yeah, they did go
The
to
only
do
thing
it.
is that pilot program proposes that we don't collect taxes on the increase in the value of
Right.
the property.
Well, we-
That's the Board of
Right.
Selectmen and not the planning board.
Right, but I'm just saying, if we haven't even decided that, why would we have a public hearing? I mean, the public hearing might be moot if a majority of this board says no pilot.
But then why, how would we make a decision unless we had a public hearing?
I
To
think
find
that's why
out how
they
the
want
people
the
felt
public hearing,
about
to
it.
find out what the people think.
Right.
But we have to find out what's really going on.
Are you gonna get 3,600 people here? I don't think so.
No, probably
No.
5.
Yeah, so, I don't know.
And, you know,
I don't know.
there's a lot more to it that, we had a bunch of questions, and she said that she would find out the information and get back to us. And everything that we have in writing, she said, well, it's not quite like that. This is a solar garden. It's exactly what it is. It's a solar garden, which is solar being sold at one property that's distributed amongst the other properties that they get payments and credits back for having it on their property. This is a solar garden. It's the same thing we had
No,
before.
it's different.
Think
All the
about it.
monies that is generated here, they benefit from. They're either
And the
paying back,
investors.
they're,
And the investors.
not the investors, they're paying back
Mm-hmm.
for the array being installed.
After-
They're paying the bill,
No.
and then once that
She
bill is
said
paid, they
after
have
10
the option,
years, they have the option to purchase it.
once it's paid for.
Right.
No, at 10 years, they can purchase it, and that's determined
Right,
how much.
but
This
she,
is a solar
if
garden.
you read the documents, it says that all the monies benefit
The homeowners.
the two properties.
That's correct.
They're
3
not-
The
properties.
documents
Well,
also
might
say
be.
Belmont. Yeah.
But, I mean, more than that, are we gonna have a public hearing before we make a decision? I think Joe had, really, his question for me was the most important.
Which was?
The assessed value. You put the array up.
Oh, that's what the question was that you were going to get with,
Is
Lauren,
there
correct?
There's an assessed value.
That's what we're
If we
waiting
decide to have a pilot, is there still an increased assessed value to the property?
I
right.
couldn't get
And
a
do we
straight answer
collect
last
those-
time.
I don't think she knew the answer. Do we collect those taxes based on the assessed value for the county and the two districts?
Right.
There is that.
We need to get that from Lauren.
Or do they also accept our pilot?
Right.
How can we sign them up for our
I don't
pilot?
think, I think.
Because they accept our assessment.
So at this point, we're not ready to agree to a public hearing. We still need more information.
I think if we had that answer from Joe, I'm ready to make a decision. But we need to have
Okay.
that question answered from Lauren.
It really tells us how much we're not getting, and
We're not getting all the information, and, I mean, Grant, this is an experiential ed project for a law school in Vermont. These attorneys are not representing White Rock, they are not representing Gaslight Village, they're representing an experiential ed project with investors that are going to own this. Okay?
they've already put one in.
Yeah, they have.
And we're,
So,
It was very successful.
Barrington or something,
and
shit.
did you see all the numbers and everything on it?
Yeah.
I've looked it up, yes, I've been up there.
And who's representing like White Rock? And who's looking at all this information for the town? We really,
Well, that's why we're
there's a
here.
lot of impacts for
That's why we're here, and we're getting
Project.
answers.
Right.
And I need an answer to Joe's question.
Okay.
That was a really good question.
Well, let me continue. All right. The other item, Colonial Life. So, so I did speak with Colonial Life. It does not, there's no negative impact to the employees if we discontinued and let Colonial Life direct bill the employees.
Doesn't cost them anything extra.
Nope, and I also followed up with Joyce because I heard somebody say that they thought there was some kind of penalty or something would happen negatively, and Joyce advised that there would be no negative impact, but she has strongly urged that that we continue providing this service to these 4 employees because it's not a big deal. It's a goodwill, effort for these 4 employees, and it's not a. I think Gail. I talked to Gail about because you process the payment. So, but it was as I said to you before, it was driven by Tim would like to see that the town taken out of the loop on this and have Colonial Life bill the employees directly. So it's really
My question is, they bill the town of Tilton? Or do we get a bill with the employee's name on it?
We get a bill with the employees' names on it. We process the check request. It comes out of the employees' pay.
Lump sum?
Okay.
Monthly, it's a
So
monthly
we're,
for those 4 employees.
so we're footing the bill on interest then. We're paying the bill up front, but we're collecting only a partial payment.
No, I don't think it's a partial payment.
We're taking it out of their pay.
We're taking it out of their pay.
Yeah.
We don't.
We're
It's
just,
a deduction in
we're
their
just
pay.
processing it.
yeah.
That's all.
So the employees don't have to do it in their bookkeeping monthly, we're doing the bookkeeping.
How did we get involved?
It's been years.
But how
Because
did it start?
you used to provide Colonial Life to all employees, is my understanding, and then at some point, people, you switched, and most dropped off, a few hung on, and you have these 4 outstanding.
And that was a benefit
It's a supplement.
previously, and
Yes.
It's a supplement to these 4 employees now.
I would
And
think
they pay for it,
that's-
we don't pay for anything, we just do the paperwork.
Oh,
and-
it's a supplementary insurance.
So,
Yeah.
do we provide this service to other employees for other deductions from their
Well,
pay?
we,
Yeah.
if it's,
We do.
if
Child
it's,
support,
Right.
there's all
Yeah,
sorts of
right.
things we
Right.
might,
Well,
I'm not saying
that's-
anybody does.
That's
but
court ordered, isn't it?
Yep.
Yes.
Which is a little different than insurance.
There might be other
This day and age,
examples,
they
I
should
just
be
can't
able
think
to
of
set up an automatic payment with their checking account. No different than doing it out of your payroll.
so I'll just read you the email that I got from Colonial Life. It said, your employees can continue their Colonial coverage on an individual basis if you discontinue the payroll deductions. If you wish to cancel the coverage for your group, simply submit a cancellation request that includes the cancellation effective date. Once that request is received, we will send conservation letters to your employees that will allow them to convert to individual billing. And so that's what I got from them. And then I haven't heard back, but then after I got that, I just sent them another email and said, so just to confirm, there's no negative impact on these employees. They're not going to lose their insurance. You're not going to charge them more. And I haven't heard back yet from that.
So it was a benefit that we had offered at one time, but we
John.
we no longer offer it, so once.
But we don't
Did we
offer.
exempt that benefit?
What's-
We didn't exempt it, we know we're offering
just
that
don't offer
benefit.
it
You
anymore.
don't-
Oh,
We
you
do,
do, but not through them.
And
So these
for the
other people-
It's a supplemental insurance.
The other people that are getting this benefit, but not through that insurance company we
Yep.
pay.
So we've got life insurance through Health Trust, and all the employees get it.
Yep.
And they can get supplementary coverage.
Well, so let me back up. So you started out years ago with Colonial, and then when you moved to Primex, the Colonial Life was no longer offered, but anyone who wanted to keep it could. Everyone, but they had to pay for it on their own, right? So the majority of your employees switched to the Primex life insurance, which is a deduction. There were more than 4. I think a couple have since left employment or dropped off, but you have 4 left now who still want the Colonial Life Insurance. They're getting it, but they're paying for it. It's just being processed through the town.
Do their pay.
So-
payroll
Right, it's a
deduction.
deduction.
The prime and mix insurance that we currently offer is also a deduction from their pay.
Yes.
But the
But I
other
say
thing-
leave it.
I'd leave it.
Well,
It's the
Yeah.
same.
right,
It's just a different
It's just a
company.
benefit that we switch
Okay.
companies and they
Yeah.
stay with the old
I
one.
would say leave it.
Yeah, I chose it.
Why does Tim recommend that we drop doing the way we're doing it now? He does lots of payroll deductions. Why these 4 people?
Because it's an extra one, and it's probably a pain.
That makes no sense to me. There's no specific reason that you know of?
No, I would just,
It's just one more
Deduction.
step for just those 4.
Oh, well.
but you know,
Okay,
when
so
we switched to,
there's a consensus, we're gonna keep doing it. 'Cause
when we
probably move on.
switched to health insurance, there
Yes.
was just a
Yes.
few
Yes.
on a particular
Catherine?
program. So we
Yes.
kept them on
Peter?
that same program.
Yes.
Same
He's
thing.
doing it, he's looking
Pat?
for a consensus.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes, Catherine
Yes.
says yes.
So my point of view is not good? Is that what you're saying?
No,
I'm speaking my point of view and you're cutting me off and saying consensus. Do what you want, John.
No, your point of view
This
might
is the-
change my mind.
This is the 3rd time that he's cut me off and wanted to go a different direction, but go ahead, do what you want, John.
Trying to keep things moving.
So were you
I'm making
yes
my
or
point.
no?
You spoke to John, you spoke to Joe and Catherine, and you didn't offer, I had my hand up, so what's your point?
I'm sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
We should keep it because we do the same thing with the police contract because we had health insurance the same way. We no longer offer a specific health insurance, but they keep them on that health insurance because it was grandfathered. We still pay for that. They still pay for it. We should keep it. That's my point. And there's like
Yes.
2
Well,
on
I
that.
still vote yes.
I still vote yes. So, we're all set.
okay,
Thank you for listening.
That was a good point.
all right. The next item, Kathy Mitchell, you remember Kathy and Chuck came to you a couple weeks ago about the map and asked for, I think, your permission to submit the pre-application. She would like to get a letter from, it's required actually for the Moose Plate grant, that a letter come from the town confirming that the document is publicly owned by the town. So before I drafted that letter, I wanted to just make sure that you're okay with that.
Yes.
Yes.
All right,
I have
Yes.
a question.
sure.
Pat?
What is the intent after, if they get the grant and the map is
Conserved?
conserved? What is their intent to do with it?
Well, what I heard them talk about was downstairs, on the downstairs wall, because it's gonna be I think ultimately, it sounded to me like they're, wherever you wanna put it in town hall.
So they are giving it to
They
the
said they were
town?
gonna donate it to the town for display.
Okay.
That's my
I
understanding.
wasn't at the meeting, that's why I asked.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. So in that case, they are donated to the town, and then we could display it in town hall, someplace where it's appropriate and fixed. I would say yes. Draft the letter. please.
Okay. Good. 150th committee. So the time capsule process. Gentleman came in, I think I might have mentioned this to you before, I don't know if to the whole select board, that there was a rumor that there was a time capsule buried under or near Timetable Mabel. A gentleman came in a couple days ago or a week ago and confirmed with Cindy that there is in fact a time capsule buried. He was there when they buried it. And
Nice.
so the 150th committee basically wants the selectmen to weigh in on the process. What the 150th committee is recommending is that a week or two maybe before the new time capsule gets buried, that we dig up the old time capsule and then we have some kind of event where there's an opening of that time capsule to see what's in it. We did the same thing in Meredith. We had a big event. The DPW went down and dug it up, and then the library actually took charge of that event, and it was a big, everybody came and they opened it up, and it was really kind of neat. So that's what they're asking. That's what they'd like to do is, I guess, get your approval to dig up the one by Timetable Mabel to do some event around that, and then the other one will get buried on June 30th.
I'm just curious, I mean, is this definitely for sure, and they just gonna keep digging and digging and digging?
It's definitely for sure.
And, can they,
Make out
can
the
they,
Pope's vault.
Is it made of metal?
can they kind of like,
Use a
find
metal
out where it is
detector?
first and
It
not?
is, it is.
It was Dick Mayer.
Oh, it was Dick that welded
Yeah.
it?
Yes, he made it, and that's what Cindy, I think, recommended, is that they could take a,
Metal detector.
and find out where it is.
Sewer has one.
Going backyard, put up the poles.
And Carol Stone was there with Dick when
Yeah.
they buried it. So there's a picture of them somewhere that,
Yeah,
Burying.
we should, there must be some record in the selectmen's minutes about it.
Yeah, and the other thing,
Years ago,
were we
come on.
burying the new one? Would Timetable Mabel be the appropriate place? then?
We don't own the property Timetable Maple sits upon.
I thought we did.
No,
I thought they turned it over to us. Yes.
that I know of.
Yeah, they did. A couple years
Seems
ago.
like they
That-
did.
Yeah, they did.
We had,
Just that little spit.
That little-
So,
They did.
I think
for
maybe.
years, we had an agreement with them.
No, about 3 years ago, they
in
turned
lieu
it
of
over to
taxes.
us.
I know we talked about it. I
Huh?
just don't remember it ever taking place.
It, about 3 years ago, was their last name McLaughlin or something like
I
that?
don't know, I have the
I've
paper.
got a file on it.
I've got
You've got the paper.
I've got paperwork on it, I just don't have anything.
Time,
Joyce
table,
came-
Mabel,
right.
time
It'd be easy to look it
capsule.
up on the tax card.
Joyce came to us and they offered us that
Well,
piece
except there's
and the
not a
piece.
lot of room around
By
Timetable
where the
Maple,
porta
so if you're gonna
potties.
have a ceremony, you're not gonna have many people there. And where are you gonna park?
Well,
That's why we thought Riverfront Park,
yeah,
because you have a place to park, you have a huge area to hold a ceremony.
Well, on the burying, yeah.
Yeah.
The digging up, it is what it is.
Well, yeah, we have to
And
deal
you-
with that.
And we have a party in the park.
right, and in fact, if you, I suppose if you wanted, you could dig it up a week or two before, and then before you bury the new one, if it goes in Riverfront Park, you have a celebratory opening of the old one, and then you bury the new one.
You want to, is that where the 150th is proposing to
That's-
bury it in Riverfront?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Where in Riverfront?
As you walk in from Riverfront Place on your left,
Yeah.
parking lot's on your right, as you walk in, there's a little corner there
Mm-hmm.
of Riverfront Park where there's no irrigation.
Mm-hmm.
We thought right there. Easily accessible, people with handicaps that can't walk far, it's right there. You have plenty of flat area around.
I like that
People-
idea. I like that idea, but check on that property because I think it was transferred
We
over
can just
to
look at
us.
the tax map and see if it's changed.
Okay.
It might be a good idea to not have the opening and the burying on the same date in case, might give somebody a clue for things that might want.
Well,
to go
that's why I
back into the
suggested a
one.
couple weeks before we bury to open.
That was one,
Open.
Yep.
That's what Jeannie said.
one, doesn't matter.
Cool.
It sounds like,
A good idea.
all right, good, all right, thank you. And then, that's it for my action items. I won't go through the FYI, just did also want to mention that there's a House Bill 700 on valuation of utility poles, which I've been just following to see the impact on Tilton, and I've been talking with Lauren about it. Some towns are gonna get hit pretty hard, some not so much, and she said Tilton, there's gonna be minimal impact. They're gonna transition into this new assessment of utility poles in the next 5 years. So I just wanted to be aware of that. And then finally, you all should have a copy of Al's first code enforcement report in your folder. I think I might have mentioned to you that in his job description, it actually lays out what it is he's supposed to be reporting on. So, did everyone get a chance to look at that?
I don't have it now, but I did look.
Okay.
I didn't see it.
It's in the FYI only, it's only
Oh.
in FYI.
Okay, good, because I
It's
didn't
not
see
in our
it.
folders.
Like,
Oh,
whoa.
you did, oh,
Yeah, it's in the FYI.
Okay.
FYI.
okay, so, you mean in the one that I?
We only have one copy only.
Okay. So, there were 7 building permits issued. There were 2 complaints, one at 885 Laconia Road, a retaining wall installed without permits, and the second was Gaslight Road slab was not positioned in the proper area. Inspections, building inspection, code enforcement, along with health officer and deputy fire chief, did 2 on Tuesday. Field inspection by the code enforcement officer, building inspector, 5 inspections, framing, electrical, and plumbing. So I followed up with Al, and I said, all right, good first start. Under the complaints, tell us what kind of, those were complaints, but was there any resolution? So I talked to him about that. He'll come back with what action he took on those.
Thank you.
And then the other thing I was curious about is where is the activity happening in Tilton? Is it all around in terms of building inspections, building permits? Is it happening all around Tilton? Is it happening in one particular area? So I asked him that question, and I haven't heard back yet. But I just thought that would be kind of interesting to know what's happening, where it's happening in a community. So what I'll do is I'll send you an email with this document so you have it, and if there's anything else that you'd like to know that's not being addressed or something more as he makes these reports in the future, will you let me know?
Why are these not being integrated into our software system that we purchased?
The iWorks, I believe they are.
Why are we not getting the report that's generated from iWorks? And also, there was a report that was filled out in there for a light on the brewery.
That is a separate issue. So
That was a complaint.
right, right. There's actually
So it's an in progress that he's working on right
Yes.
now.
yes. So essentially,
That's what she's trying
So
to
these
say.
are
Yeah.
closed reports,
Yep.
complaints.
we had a conversation with Tim about a process if people had something to complain about, and then he put this form up on the website, and there have been 3 or 4 complaints now. They started coming in, and so the question that I had for Tim was, well, who's getting the complaints? Who's seeing them? I'm seeing them, you're seeing them. I think Al and or Sheena's seeing them now. So if you've looked at the website and you've seen the complaint and the language, it says, send us your complaint, we can't respond back. Did you do yours on the website?
Yeah. I
Did you
did
get
for
a,
somebody-
you did get a bounce back response that we got it? Because I asked him
think
to
it was
do
something,
that.
yeah, that I think you could go back and look at it somehow. I'm not
Yep.
sure.
So in any event, that's part of the process, is we're trying to solicit more feedback and address those issues as well.
But the thing I was wondering, because it says complaints, received 2 complaints for this date. but
He
then-
hasn't seen this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
It's a-
will that be part of the iWorks? Because I thought that was tracking the whole package on each address.
Well, I think what needs to happen is Tim needs to be more involved in the
IT portion of it.
yeah.
So personally, I'd like to see that in integrating and getting away from like this form of report to more of a standardized using the
Okay.
iWorks.
All right.
And so everything, that way we don't have separate files on each address.
Yep.
We're trying to get away from, I don't know if anybody else, but
Is everybody else like that?
I'd like to utilize the iWorks.
Yep, I would guess since we have it, we should use it.
Does it
All right.
say sign the tan?
just-
Is it what signed the tan in the to be signed folder?
Any questions for me?
I have one. Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Pat.
Thank
Pat,
you.
The chair recognizes.
Pat Constantino.
Constantino.
A couple of weeks ago, the Police Building Committee met, and I swore in several members of the committee, and yet it's not posted on the committee. I asked Cindy, and she's not gotten any paperwork whatsoever that members were sworn in on the committee. So paperwork has not gotten to Cindy to record in the book.
What did you do with the forms after you swore them in?
They go between Gail and Jeannie, so one of them's got it that needs to go to Cindy to record, is all I'm saying. And the only one that's not been sworn in yet is Chuck.
Yeah.
And so
That paperwork was handed in the next day, so I'll have to find out what happened.
I
Specifically,
talked to Cindy this morning on my way up to the meeting, letting her know that Chuck is the only one that's not been sworn in, and she has no record of any paperwork. So I told her I'd bring it up. Thank you for that information. The other thing is, Mr. Chairman, are we having a non-public to go over personnel evaluation?
We can do that.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Somebody makes that motion, you have
I have a public question.
public, yeah.
That occurred to me sitting here. So we've advertised for a new town planner land use person. Have we considered making a different area up here as an office space for that person? Because the previous person was constantly bombarded and interrupted by people coming in because of his close proximity.
I say make that whole
And at
section
one
there,
point, we don't utilize that table.
right? Take it out,
We
make the whole
have
section.
these office partitions that we could make an office there, so they'd have a window. That would put them away from this, and I'm just suggesting it.
Or section off downstairs and put that whole planning office right downstairs where the break room is, where the planning board meets.
Then where would the zoning board meet?
Same place where the planning board meets,
But the
Downstairs.
sewer commissioners meet the night of the zoning board meeting.
right here.
This is where the sewer commissioners meet.
You'd still meet
Meets
here.
up here.
You'd still, planning board, zoning, sewer would still meet here.
But zoning and sewer at the same time. And we have many.
Well, they would meet, the table would still be downstairs.
Okay,
Right.
so, but then the town clerk has to have access to the safe. So
So
they,
you make a little hallway.
I think it would be better to have them up here where all their documentation is, all the plans and everything, and because they work with these other two departments, but just to keep them over where they're not going to be interrupted so much.
So just build a little wall and put some
Take some of
office there.
these, and I'm just suggesting it, I don't know, I think it's gotta take some thought process.
Yeah, can we put some little sketches and ideas together and what it would look like, type of, what if
Yes.
this? Yeah.
I think we may be a ways off. I appreciate the,
Well, I'm just thinking
to
we
make
should
the
be
space.
ready,
But
because,
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think we've gotten 4 applications, would you say? 3 or 4 applications. The deadline was today. We haven't,
third.
I thought it was the second.
Catherine, do you remember what we were going to do as far as air conditioning here? Did we put that into the budget for air conditioning? We didn't. So if we cordon off that, that's our air conditioning spot, to put air conditioning.
Well, it's one, it doesn't mean you can't, because you're not gonna ceiling it, you could still put the air conditioner, depending on how you position it, if you come out further this way or
One
come
window.
this way.
Yep.
You
Got
could
it.
still set it there and one here. Quite frankly, if Kevin gets these windows working, You're not gonna need so much air conditioning, a fan in the windows would work. I don't have any air conditioning up there, and all I get by is the fan and that.
You are built much different than any one of us.
I'm just,
I'm sorry, I have lupus, I need air conditioning.
The fresh air thing is what you love? There's some people that.
just saying.
Overrated.
Put my guests
It's
together.
10 minutes to 8.
Ready?
That's your,
10 minutes to 8, that's right, that's when we
That's your
turn into
witching hour.
vampires.
She already
Yeah.
signed the.
Still need to talk about it. No?
Do you want to do it next week?
it doesn't matter, whatever you want, it doesn't matter to me.
It's already done, is that what we're gonna go in non-public for?
So we don't need to?
No, I don't think so.
All right, you're okay with
It's
it?
done.
I'm good.
Fine.
Have to.
Better than she gave herself.
That's-
All right, make, Joe, you're on.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
The chair recognizes Joseph Jessman.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, I had no question.
All those in favor, say aye.
Okay.